Have you ever walked into a room and felt the air shift? Like people smiled to your face, but deep down, something darker brewed behind their eyes. Maybe you've achieved something, and suddenly those who once cheered for you start acting distant. Or maybe no matter how kind, polite, or respectful you are, there's always someone who just can't stand you. Why? Why do people secretly hate you, even when you've done nothing wrong? The answer isn't always about jealousy or ego. Sometimes it's the way you carry yourself, the way your presence exposes their weakness, the way your silence screams confidence when theirs trembles in insecurity. Today we're diving deep into Stoic philosophy to uncover 9 powerful truths about why people secretly hate you. And when you understand these reasons, you'll stop chasing approval and start mastering presence. Let's begin. 1. Your confidence exposes their insecurity. Have you ever noticed how your calm confidence makes some people uncomfortable, even hostile, without you doing anything wrong? It's not arrogance, it's presence. You walk into a room, speak less, but somehow you're felt. That quiet self-assurance threatens the ones whose confidence depends on attention. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." That's the essence of true confidence. It doesn't seek to dominate. It simply exists with strength. Yet insecure people can't handle that. When you don't need validation, you remind them of their own weakness. Imagine a group of friends in London. Everyone's trying to one-up each other. Louder jokes, fake stories, constant need for validation. You sit back, calm, smiling slightly, not chasing the spotlight. Suddenly they start teasing you, calling you too serious or arrogant. But deep down, they feel something they can't explain: intimidation. Your silence reflects their insecurity. Your composure reminds them how fragile they are. And that's why they secretly hate you. Not because of anything you said, but because your self-control reveals the chaos inside them. The Stoics taught that a man who's at peace with himself will always disturb those who aren't. So, when people mock, criticize, or misjudge your confidence, don't shrink. It's not your job to make them comfortable with your strength. Confidence doesn't need permission to exist. It just does. And sometimes that alone is enough to make insecure people despise you. 2. You don't need validation. In a world where everyone's addicted to approval, the person who doesn't crave it becomes a threat. Most people live for attention. They measure self-worth through likes, replies, and compliments. So when you stop playing that game, you become unpredictable. And people hate that. The Stoics believed freedom begins when you stop caring about external opinions. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish." That's what scares people. Your ability to walk away from validation makes them realize how trapped they are by it. Picture this: you're in New York, surrounded by people obsessed with image. You, however, don't post to impress. You don't explain your every move. You say no when something doesn't align with your peace. And suddenly people start calling you cold or different. But you're not cold, you're free. People secretly hate those who can't be controlled through approval, because your peace reminds them of their emptiness. When you're no longer seeking validation, they lose power over you. Their opinions no longer dictate your emotions. And that independence is dangerous to the insecure. It reminds them that happiness is an inside job. You've built self-worth from within, and that in a validation-addicted world is rebellion. 3. You speak the truth they avoid. People love honesty until it's about them. Truth is beautiful in theory, but unbearable in practice. You've probably experienced it. You spoke the truth to someone, not to hurt them, but to help them grow, and they turned against you. That's because truth doesn't just reveal facts. It reveals denial. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." Speaking the truth is bravery, especially in a world built on comforting lies. Most people build their lives around illusions, fake relationships, fake success, fake happiness. When you expose that, directly or indirectly, you become the villain in their story. Maybe you told a friend their relationship was toxic, or that their laziness was the reason they weren't succeeding. They didn't want wisdom, they wanted comfort. So they labeled you rude or harsh. But Stoicism teaches that truth is virtue. And when you speak truth, even if it burns, you're living in alignment with your soul. People who secretly hate you for your honesty aren't rejecting you. They're rejecting their reflection. The truth hurts the ego, not the heart. So keep speaking it calmly, fearlessly, without apology. Because while lies may win temporary approval, truth earns eternal respect, even from those who resent you for it. 4. Your boundaries offend the manipulative. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They're gates that protect your peace. Yet the moment you start building them, the wrong people get offended. Why? Because boundaries expose who was benefiting from your lack of them. For years, you might have been the yes person, always available, always helping, always saying yes even when your soul screamed no. But the day you start saying no, the manipulative ones start showing their true colors. They'll say you've changed. They'll call you selfish. They'll guilt trip you with lines like, "You've become distant," or "You don't care anymore." But deep down, what they really mean is, "I can't use you like I used to." Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That's a Stoic's definition of boundaries, integrity. When you refuse to be emotionally manipulated, when you stop entertaining drama or one-sided relationships, you become unpredictable to toxic people. They thrive on control, and your boundaries take that away from them. Imagine this: you stop answering every late-night call from someone who only reaches out when they need something. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, and suddenly they turn cold. That's not love fading. That's manipulation losing its grip. The Stoic man doesn't set boundaries to punish others. He does it to protect himself. And if someone hates you for protecting your peace, that's all the proof you need that the boundary was necessary. So when people get angry because you finally respect yourself, don't back down. You're not being cruel, and you're being clear. And clarity scares those who rely on confusion to keep control. 5. You outgrew the version of you they loved. Growth is beautiful until it threatens someone's comfort. Many people loved you when you were uncertain, insecure, or dependent. You made them feel superior. But the moment you start evolving emotionally, financially, spiritually, their attitude changes. Suddenly you're different, they say. You've changed. And they're right, you did. You grew. But what they don't say out loud is, "I liked you better when you were smaller." Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." When you begin mastering your emotions, focusing on discipline, cutting off distractions, and becoming selective about your energy, you become harder to access. And to those who depended on your old self, that feels like betrayal. Imagine being the friend who used to party every night, and now you read, train, and stay focused on your goals. Your old circle starts feeling awkward around you, not because you judge them, but because your growth exposes their stagnation. People secretly hate you for evolving, because your progress is proof that change is possible. And that makes them uncomfortable with their excuses. Stoicism teaches that growth requires solitude. Marcus Aurelius often withdrew from the noise of the palace to reflect and realign. He knew that evolution demands silence, and silence often feels like distance to those still stuck in chaos. So don't apologize for growing. Don't shrink back to fit into old spaces you've outgrown, because those who truly love you will adjust to your evolution, not resent it. And those who hate you for changing were never with you. They were with the version of you that made them feel big. Keep rising. Your growth is not arrogance, and it's proof of life. 6. You don't engage in drama or gossip. In a world addicted to noise, your silence feels like rebellion. People love gossip because it makes them feel connected at the expense of someone else's dignity. When you refuse to join in, you become the outsider. But here's what they don't understand: peace is power. When you stop reacting to every rumor, every emotional trigger, you strip drama of its energy. That's what Stoicism teaches. Not everything deserves your attention. Seneca wrote, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." Meaning, if your energy is scattered among gossip, arguments, and petty conflict, you lose yourself. So the Stoic man chooses stillness. He doesn't rush to defend himself when misunderstood. He doesn't chase approval when slandered. He lets truth speak in time, because it always does. Picture this: someone in your circle tries to drag you into gossip. They want your reaction. They want your opinion. And when you smile and say nothing, they label you boring or too serious, but deep down, they're frustrated because your calmness exposes their chaos. People who thrive on drama need others to join their emotional circus. When you stay out, you become a mirror reflecting how meaningless it all is. That's why they secretly hate you, because your silence reminds them of the peace they can't find. Stoicism isn't emotionless. It's emotionally disciplined. When you master the art of non-reaction, you don't lose power, you gain it. And soon the same people who mocked your calm will start envying your peace. So stay grounded, stay silent when needed, and remember, not every storm is yours to enter. Peace isn't weakness, it's a skill. And once you have it, those who feed on chaos will either transform or fade away. 7. You don't seek validation anymore. The moment you stop seeking approval, you become dangerous. Because most people are addicted to validation. They need others to clap before they believe in their own worth. But the Stoic doesn't live for applause, he lives by principle. Think about it. How often have you changed your behavior just to please someone? How many times have you stayed quiet to avoid judgment or posted something, hoping for likes? We all start there. But one day, you realize that chasing validation is like drinking salt water. It never satisfies. When you finally detach from other people's opinions, the same ones who once praised you begin to resent you. They say you're arrogant, too confident, or think you're better. But what really happened is this. You stopped depending on their approval for your peace. Marcus Aurelius said, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know the truth." When you live by that, people lose their power over you. Imagine someone who once had control over your emotions. Their words could ruin your whole day. But now you've learned to stay calm, to respond with reason, not reaction. That's liberation. The Stoic learns to validate himself through his discipline, not others' opinions. And that independence makes people uncomfortable because they can no longer manipulate you with validation or silence. They'll whisper, they'll criticize, they'll test your calm, but none of it reaches you, because true confidence doesn't shout. It stands still in the storm. So if they hate you for not seeking their approval, let them. That's the price of freedom, and peace is always worth the cost. 8. You mirror their insecurities. Sometimes people don't hate you. They hate the reflection you show them. Your discipline reminds them of their laziness. Your peace reminds them of their chaos. Your ambition highlights their excuses. It's not personal, it's psychological. When you walk with purpose, it exposes those still wandering. And instead of admitting their discomfort comes from within, they project it outward, onto you. Stoicism teaches that emotion is never about others. It's about perception. Epictetus said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them." Meaning, they don't hate you for being confident. They hate what your confidence reminds them of. Everything they've avoided becoming. Think about it. When you start improving and going to the gym, working on your mindset, cutting off distractions, and suddenly, people around you start making jokes. They call you obsessed, fake, or trying too hardest, but that's not humor, that's insecurity disguised as sarcasm. They can't stand that you chose growth while they stayed still. Your presence becomes a mirror they can't bear to look into. The Stoic doesn't retaliate or explain himself. He understands that everyone is fighting silent wars. He simply keeps walking, because the moment you lower yourself to prove your worth, you lose it. People who secretly hate you often wish they had your courage. And someday, the same people who mocked you might come asking for guidance, because your growth planted a seed they couldn't ignore. So don't dim your light to make others comfortable. You're not responsible for their reflection, only for your own evolution. 9. You're unshakably calm. Nothing frustrates a chaotic person more than someone they can't provoke. You see, the world feeds on reaction, online arguments, emotional drama, constant noise. But when you remain calm in chaos, you take away their control. That's why they secretly hate you, because you refuse to play the emotional game. Picture this. Someone tries to insult you publicly, expecting a loud defense. But instead you smile and walk away. That silence burns deeper than any comeback ever could. Because when you don't feed the fire, it dies on its own. Seneca said, "A wise man is neither lifted up by prosperity nor cast down by adversity." That's emotional mastery and the highest form of strength. The Stoic doesn't suppress emotion, he understands it. He feels anger, sadness, even betrayal, but he never lets them control him. That balance is rare, and rare things often invite resentment. People can't manipulate someone who stays calm. They can't control someone who chooses silence over reaction. Your composure becomes your armor, and it intimidates those who rely on chaos to feel powerful. When you stop reacting, you start leading. When you stop explaining, you start teaching. And that's when you realize, inner peace is the loudest statement you'll ever make. So let them misunderstand you. Let them talk. The storm outside doesn't matter when you've built peace within. Your calmness is not weakness, and it's your superpower. And the world will always test your peace to see if it's real. Stay calm, stay centered, and watch how the same people who once tried to shake you end up spinning in their own storms. Conclusion. The truth is, people don't always hate you. They hate the version of themselves that your existence reveals. Your confidence exposes their insecurity. Your honesty ruins their comfort. Your growth highlights their stagnation. Your peace disturbs their chaos. And when you finally understand that, you'll stop wasting your energy trying to be liked. You'll stop explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. As the Stoics taught, you can't control their opinions, only your response. So live with integrity, move with calmness, speak truth, and let their hate be the background noise to your peace. Because hatred is just envy in disguise, and envy is the shadow cast by your light. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.